Thursday night. There's football on later. Okay. Roll call. Just go around the room so we can announce who's here and make sure. So Oscar Martinez, I'm here. Constance. Nick Fazio. Here. Lucio Gomez is not here. Angel Ortega. Here. So, Cesar is absent. Bill D. Towns. Bill?
Yeah. And why is there Jill D. Towns? That's how it was sent to us. We can, if you don't want the D, we'll take it out.
I'll scribble it out.
Anybody asked me about it. Okay.
And Ashley Medina.
But I'm kidding. I know, I've known.
Happy to take it out.
And people always, Jill D, like, yeah, that's my name, you got a problem?
My middle name is, my middle initial was also D, and it's like, yeah, it sounds cool. Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us today on this wonderful Thursday chilly evening. My report is pretty simple. I'm looking to just kind of get ingrained or engaged in the community from a economic development stand. I was just at the Community Enterprise Accelerator. That was in the South Bronx, but they basically gave out grants to small businesses, or entrepreneurs to get their businesses up and going. It was a nice, obviously it was not dressed like this. It was a nice event, a nice mix. I left early to make sure I got here. But it was good to shake hands and just kind of see people from the committee. It was sponsored by M&T Bank, which is trying to get more of a footprint in the Bronx as far as at the bank and small business loans. So that seemed like a relationship that can be leveraged if they want. I don't know if there's an M&T Bank around here. I'm not sure. I haven't seen one. But and speaking to the representatives there, they're definitely looking to expand their footprint within the Bronx. And it was just a nice event to go and see kind of like the new age of entrepreneurs in the Bronx and what they're thinking. One was a college student, one was an older man, and then someone was right there in the middle. Nice idea. There was a lot of flowing, but it was good there. And what I would like is for the committee to have some events like that around here as far as economic events, and make sure we have mixers and networking to just highlight what we have in this area, just because I feel like there's a lot of entrepreneurs that aren't highlighted, at least from my perspective. And just bringing everyone together more often would be nicer. So that's pretty much it for my report. We're going to go through a couple of things that are on the horizon. Nothing is set in stone, but just discussing things like the Skyview Shopping Center walkthrough, which is going to take place on January 9th. That's across the street. And then planning the next commercial corridor, just really hammering down where we're going to go through. The budget, 27 priorities, and then discussion of the Betty Campbell Award. That's why I'm so happy that Nick is here, because he's done it a bazillion times, so he has some guidance there. And then approving the minutes, old business, new business, and then we can get out of here. So before we get into the discussion of the Skyview Shopping Center, is there any comments, any questions? Anyone want to say anything before we drill into the agenda?
The thing that you were just reporting on, you said that was sponsored by MHT Bank?
M&T Bank.
Oh, M&T.
Yeah.
And what was it called?
It was the Community Enterprise Accelerator. That was the event. It was Bronx Brilliance. That was the name of the event. But it was the organization who does it is the Community Enterprise Accelerator.
That's an organization.
Correct.
Tim Gammon?
Yes. You see?
He's been in our meetings before. Known him for about 30 years. Douglas County.
Fellow, but it was a nice event. I liked it a lot. Put together well.
And that's a nonprofit, or what is that?
I didn't get into the details of it as far as the exact where they stand, the kind of the nitty gritty. Just because I accepted the RCC pretty late and I wasn't sure I was going to go, but I just wanted to see the event. I tend to go and look at stuff and then really dig into the details afterwards to see kind of where we stand and where we can connect with them. You have a long-standing relationship, so I'll have a conversation with you as far as what they do after the fact. But hopefully we can have something like that around here. It was deep in the South Bronx, it was Wales Avenue. So, of course.
Yeah, so, in the past, the accelerator has asked us to distribute when they have applications, they have like a rolling application period for participants, for businesses to participate in the accelerator. And as I understand it, they've gotten several businesses from within our district. So Farah usually gets their emails, and they're good at distributing. They do 2 or maybe 3 cohorts a year, I think.
What are people applying for? They're applying to get funding, they're applying to get assistance, what are they applying for?
It's all of that. I mean, it's to help get funding, to find out resources of funding, bringing businesses together to collaborate. I'm sure Tim would probably be more than happy to join us sometime to talk more about it if the committee's interested, because it's been a couple years since he's come. But
His name is what?
Tim Gamry, Gamroy.
Gamroy?
Gamry. Gamroy.
I mean, it looks like, you said R-O-Y, right?
I think it's let me see.
I'll tell you right now. It is Gamroy.
R-O-R-Y, okay. I'll look it up.
Well, I think they're partly funded by Hearst Corporation. They have a bunch of corporate sponsors.
Is this something new?
I think it's about 2 years old now. I think this is maybe their second year.
Post-pandemic.
Yeah, post-pandemic. Tim, he also did the Bronx Exchange, so he created, basically was back end, the Bronx Exchange, and also Charity Navigator, so one of the architects of that.
Yeah, and the recipients, to piggyback off of that, just because I've read it right now, they get $15K in funding, and then it's a 6-month fellowship. So the fellowship includes some guidance, some networking, and just kind of some resources that they can provide from there.
I'll look into it, thank you.
So moving on the agenda, the discussion of the Skyview Shopping Center walkthrough. So this is going to take place on January 9th, and 5:30. And the real point of it is there have been some reports as far as the the shopping center, some of the tenants, businesses, and they haven't gotten any repairs. It looks kind of dingy, and it's from the discussion, it's bringing down kind of the value of the community within it. So the point of it is to see everything firsthand. Some members of the community, if you are if you are available to come, you're welcome to
I
come.
don't go there anymore. I've been here 20 years, I stopped going there.
Okay.
No, first it was, the ownership of the supermarket seemed to have changed hands, and it wasn't any place I wanted to shop for food. That was the main thing. Once I couldn't go grocery shopping, there was nothing really else for me to come up here for. Many other good supermarkets, so big problem. And I've heard complaints from other people about that supermarket, but I haven't been, so didn't get it.
Well, the supermarket is kind of the focus of the entire thing, where those are the complaints, and the supermarket is there's 2 things as far as some of the tenants feel afraid as far as voicing their opinion against the landlord because they don't want their leases to be terminated. Not saying
one person on that whole thing?
as far as landlord, I believe so, yes.
I think I heard that before.
Yeah, so it's a long history, and the push.
Case with one of those.
Yeah.
Who? But yeah, but that landlord.
So the real issue is just making sure that we can, one, do the walkthrough, and everyone see exactly what it is. So because people are having these discussions within the community, but having the walkthrough is one action, and then two, the people who go ahead and see it with their own eyes, and then behind that would come formal complaints, and the try for change, and the ask is just to spruce it up a bit. And that's been an ask for a long time. In particular, within the supermarket, there's some wet spots coming from the ceiling, a long laundry list of things. So if you can make it out to that, please do so.
But it all connected with this community?
Yes.
He is from the community, yes. His family.
Oh, that's it.
Hey, hi, everyone. We've actually reached out to him. I'm Dana, and we've from RMSA, from Riverdale Main Street Alliance, and I've just reached out to him separately. We've tried to be nice. We've tried everything, and they're just very unresponsive. Last 2 weeks ago, right before Thanksgiving, there was a huge container in Key Foods because there was a huge flood that came down from the ceiling. It was really bad. People posted about it on Facebook. So we're trying to get people from our group to join in. And it's not just that, it's kind of like the safety of the parking lot as well. That there's no pedestrian walkway specifically. So it's navigating the parking lot and just the general appearance. So we're getting people, hopefully a few people, to join us for the walkthrough. And we'd love if any of you can come. Oscar and I've been speaking, so thank you very much for doing this. Thank you so much.
I'll provide hot chocolate or tea if anyone wants tea or coffee. Whatever you want hot, I got you. So yeah, that's happening January 9th. We'll send out some more information as far as the initiative and kind of what we want out of it formally via email after this meeting, so you could just have the information handy, but that is something that we are highlighting there. Any questions, any concerns?
To start with, any legal end of this that we can do on the walkway, the pedestrian walkway to the place, get some legal advice and see what the landlord could be liable for. I think we can get him on that one.
What?
Pedestrian walkway is closed off. The people are walking into the driveway. Get in there.
You mean
Or they're
the
coming in
walkway
from the other side, from
along
the back
the
of the other
stores?
building. Yeah, in front, on Riverdale Avenue, it's closed off. It's like a pedestrian, it's gated off and locked with a lock.
Are you talking about the sidewalk or inside of the parking lot?
Sidewalk side into the business, into the actual mall, it's closed off.
Yeah, so we're going to that point, we're going to reach out to, there's a legal office,
The lighting is very poor there. I did my own little walkthrough a couple of days ago.
I mean, now that it gets dark so early, and people get home from work after 5 o'clock or after it's dark, it's not good, especially if you're rolling with kids, so I understand that, but we're looking to invite, some attorneys or an attorney, a team of attorneys.
More of a commercial real estate attorney that can give us time and advice on that, somebody, maybe Ms. Williams can help us on that?
Sure.
Advice on
I
that?
think the community board, Farah had mentioned that there is someone who actually gives advice to the community board.
The class.
Yeah, like,
Megan.
Megan, Ra.
I hope the
So we
language-
gotta let them know and invite them.
Yeah.
So you gotta just tell me who you wanna invite, and I'll send that out. And also send it to the committee, and everyone can respond who can join or not join.
So here's, okay.
That woman, she's, Commercial Lease
Program.
Assistance Program. They're funded, it's a free, they get free consultations.
They're funded by the city.
They're funded by the city.
She's been to our meetings before, and, also might wanna, from a
Different.
CLEP, but
Okay.
different, yeah,
What was his last name?
Gonzalez.
So my question to everyone here is how much noise do you think that we should make about this from the public standpoint? Like, we're going to do the walkthrough, but should we alert news channels or newspapers, or should we do the walkthrough first and then gain momentum and then go ahead and start making a little bit of noise?
And I think that, the people who are probably most affected by what goes on there, the people in Skyview, that's a large number of people. That's their walking distance mall, and, I would.
Yeah, they come in through that other side.
I would publicize it to Skyview. I mean, that's the concentration of people in that area is there. And you're gonna get the most feedback from that, probably.
Yeah, I would suggest taking, the first approach should be the community board. We don't usually actively go out and do kind of stuff like that. We try to work with, say, the owner of the building. I know, the Main Street Alliance reached out, but as a community board, we could reach out and just try to mediate and try to, have a discussion with them about the concerns from the community and any responses he could give us that, you know, that's usually the first step I see a lot of our committees do and the board do before further action.
I wanna know what Dana thinks.
Well, I want to have a big old protest, but that's not the right way to go about it. I think that the first step is to do what Oscar's suggesting and what we suggested when I attended the meeting at last time. Just do the walkthrough, get the advice of the attorney, and what they think, and is there anything we can do? It's pretty notorious that this landlord has been completely unresponsive. So we have a big battle. It's an uphill thing. We're so glad the community board is getting involved. Maybe that might give it a little bit more. But I think we should kind of get our ducks in a row first and then reach out to the community with maybe some recommendations. And also, I might add, I live in Netherland Gardens, which is, right next to Key Food, and our entrance is right there. So it really affects a lot of people, I think.
And just the community, I guess, protest, for lack of a better term, regarding this, shopping center goes back many years, and it goes back to Andy Cohen. I think he
Yes.
really tried to, get them to do something at one point, obviously to no or very little avail, so, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't keep trying. But I think we should really look back at the past too, to see what has been done, what hasn't worked, why it didn't work. And that might give us, some new avenues to pursue.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that during the walkthrough, we need to be diligent as far as taking notes, taking pictures, just having readily available evidence for anyone who doesn't join us, so we can tell the same story as if they were there. Because raising awareness and doing these walkthroughs are, in my opinion, ineffective if people can't virtually do, like in today's day and age, everyone can't make it physically, but if you can have some sort of a transcript or just basically an article style kind of write-up with photos and highlighting exactly what the complaints are, then I think that this will be much more effective and much more proactive.
Do you think it's valuable to invite someone like Eric Dinowitz to this walkthrough?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I know he's tried to help us before, but then his office really backed down.
So
But
the point that I would make in response to that is, I think that we should do an initial walkthrough first and
Okay.
gather all of the information, and in the same way that I'm saying, if we send it to, if we make the request to Denowitz's office and just make the request versus making the request with, hey, here are the photos, here are the write-ups, look at this, come join us for a second walkthrough and see it with your own eyes. I think that the second request with the the evidence and the data, so to say, would be much more effective because he can visually see like, oh, this is really bad. And it would strengthen our case where we've already done a formal walkthrough. Let's do a second one with kind of a little more gasoline to light.
Okay, okay, I'm with you, Oscar. Thank you.
And I'm just taking notes. If anyone has anything to say, you can feel free.
That's a good idea. I think that's the right approach.
I might have some secret intel. That, I'd be able to provide some insight on the history.
We can build more steam.
And also the political balls,
Mm-hmm.
I who knows a guy.
Okay.
One thing I don't get, this guy's from the neighborhood all these years and.
That's why I was wondering if he has
Just
any,
don't get
like,
it. I can
well,
understand
some
if he's an
people just-
outsider
some
or it's
people just
corporate
greedy.
owned.
some people are just
He's a
greedy.
neighborhood guy, I would assume he grew up here, I don't know too much about him, I got some information on him, he's like 85 years old. Just don't get it.
Yeah, I remember, that
don't
was
get it.
very difficult.
I don't know about this particular situation because it's a long time since I've been there myself, even though I drive
By it all the time. But we have been in buildings over the years, and this is not to make excuses for the landlord, but some of our buildings, and I don't know the age of this one, are so old, for you to do a construction to refurbish that building to code would cost more than the building is worth. In addition to permits, lack of rent, because you have to get the tenant out, you have to compensate the tenant depending on the lease agreements. In addition, if you have a big shopping center, you have different lease terms for everybody there. You might sign in 2013, I signed in 2015, and maybe I have a 10-year lease. So, all those terms are gonna be different. So from that standpoint, as a landlord, it's a complete nightmare. It's a complete nightmare. And that's why a lot of times they try to kick it down the road and do the bare minimum to keep it open. Again, that's not to make excuses, but some of these buildings, what I've seen in some of these buildings is incredible. And some of it is like, it's just so old.
I've seen these buildings down in Marble
Hill, down at Broadway, it's incredible.
Yeah, the school of SAR.
That's not it.
I don't think so.
Beautiful building.
Yeah, that's.
Now, I also just want to mention,
Academy on that.
keep in mind that this issue is related to City of Yesser economic opportunity. When we talked about permitting process, zoning, regulation, all of those things add to the time and add to the money that would have to be invested in order to refurbish a property. So as an investor, if you're looking at that, you're gonna put your money someplace else, right? You're not gonna invest in that particular property. And that's just a financial decision that people make.
I think the commercial terms, they're responsible for the inside, the term leases where they come in, the tenant is responsible, they just give you the shell, everything else inside they're responsible.
I've probably signed 5 commercial leases, all of them have been different.
Really? So you must have one that's not
They're
in
all,
that common factor, because that is the common
some,
factor.
it depends on the
They
deal.
just give you the shell and that's it. Anything
Some
outside is
will.
around is his,
Some will,
it's
and
responsibility.
some it's your responsibility.
And some, yeah.
Yeah, but it depends on the lease,
And it depends on the terms that you negotiate.
I thought it was just generic all around. I thought it was just across the board. At least the structural part.
not in
The
my,
inside.
not in my experience.
Not in my experience. In my experience, in some cases, the responsibility to
Renovate would go on, the onus would be on the tenant,
I wouldn't take a lease like that.
Yeah,
But-
that's what I meant.
but
The shell
people have.
is his.
but
and
people
the
have.
inside is
In
the-
some places, I've had, landlords
Go in and say, tell me what you want me to do. And they did it. So, every lease is, and everything in between.
So just thinking here, have we reached out to the tenants or the business owners within the plaza? And have we gotten any comment from them, or would they be open to speaking to us during the walkthrough, the owners? Not so much the workers, but the people who sign these leases, the people who are constantly in contact with the landlord. Would it be helpful, or have we even thought about having a conversation with those individuals?
I think Oscar, I definitely know the owner of the Key Foods. And I think that there's a thing, I understand the complications for investors, owners of property, but from my understanding, and I don't know if it's correct, is that there's a clause in all of the leases that says he can give a very short notice, which is very unusual for commercial leases, to get rid of the tenant without a lot of notice. And so it's like a chicken and egg thing. They don't want to invest money in their property because they could be thrown out at any moment. So so it's tricky. I don't know if he would be willing to speak to us, honestly, Oscar. I think that this first walkthrough, we should just assess what's going on, but is it something that you think I should notify him of, that we're gonna do a walkthrough? I mean, how much do we do without the business owners knowing? Or do we have to notify them?
We could do both. I've always been the type where if I'm going to do anything in benefit or for the business, like just fighting for them, I'll just let them know, like, hey, we're gonna do a walkthrough, just so they can be aware and they're not ambushed if they happen to see a large crowd walking through, let's say, their store, whatever it may be. And it's not so much where they have to speak to us, but at least they're aware of what we're doing. So
Okay,
they're not blindsided. So if, let's say, the landlord's like, hey, did you organize this? They can at least know where to pivot from there instead of being blindsided by not knowing. So more of an awareness thing than actual interview or conversation. But I at least want to let them know that we're doing the walkthrough, and if they
okay,
want to speak to us, they can feel free to, but it's not a requirement.
okay. I can definitely let the owner of Key Food, and because we do the block party, some of them really contribute as sponsors. So that's how we've gotten to know some of the owners of these businesses, like Carlos and Gabby. They're very generous, and Riverdale Pharmacy, Key Food. We can let them all know. Is the plan to walk through all of the businesses or
How many
just
are
the
in the
grocery store?
I get, you should focus on the ones that have some issues that need, you know,
How many,
that we're asking them to improve.
do we know how many businesses are there?
We have the
Yeah.
kosher market, you got the pizza place, you got the Citibank, you've got the pharmacy, you've got the bakery, urgent care.
Dunkin'
And you
Donuts.
got Dunkin' Donuts, and you got Key Food, so there's at least, I would say 10.
There's also an office building over there.
Yeah,
because
there's an office
My landlord
building.
used to be located in that building when I first, that's how I know about that mall.
Yeah, so that's at least an hour right there.
Hmm?
That's at least an hour, that many.
Businesses.
Yeah, I don't know how many businesses are in that building that that my former landlord was in, so.
Well, I like to be thorough personally. So if we can visit each and every business, that would be beneficial, just because everyone has a different side of their story, and they
Sure.
may have conditions that we're not aware of. It doesn't need to be we in there for 20 minutes at a time, but even just walking through and seeing the conditions and just checking it off. That's really, for this initial walkthrough, the way I see it, this is going to be a progression and an iteration where we have an initial walkthrough, we assess, and then we cut it down to the ones that really, really need help, and then we work and iterate from there. But initially, if we're going to go and do a walkthrough, I don't see a reason why we shouldn't visit every business, even if it's just a quick glance, like, okay, this is okay, cool, we could check this off. And that's just by nature. I just like to be thorough and not. And on the flip side, you don't want any one of the business owners to feel left out or shunned by this walkthrough. So, and it can also contribute in a way where it can build a business relationship with those owners that we may not know. So, I would prefer to just visit every one of the businesses if possible. If time is a constraint, then we can pivot from there. But generally, I would like to see all of them.
Okay. I don't think the bakery stays open that late. That would be the one thing. But other than that, I'll inform them.
How much involvement we got with the public, though? How much involvement with the community people?
I think we need more intel
Do you
first.
hear me?
This is for the.
I
intel.
didn't,
I said,
I'm
how
sorry.
much involvement in the community, the people in the community? Like the residents in Skyview, residents in Netherlands.
Yeah, I think we said we wanted to get our information, get our ducks in a row
I'm saying,
before we.
have they called here? Have they complained down here? Have you gotten any complaints from people there?
I think
Just
it's kind
on
of
Yeah,
I think it's
No,
kind of
not
universal.
yeah.
Oh,
I think it's not just from the Skyview or Netherlands, it's from the houses that are around it. I think it's been a thing for a long time.
It's not new.
It's just getting progressively worse, especially at Key Food. So, Oscar, then do you want me to just reach out to them? I don't have their emails. I just physically go in and let them know.
If you can, that would be phenomenal.
Definitely.
Just a heads up. Hey, this is what's going on, and just so they know.
Okay. Have you ever had trouble during walkthroughs not being allowed in?
Personally, no. But I've worked in places where we were not aware and we were blindsided. In the sense where it's like, if someone comes in and not saying that we're going to ask the questions, but if someone comes in asking questions or just a large presence, out of respect for everyone, I just would rather them just be in the know. And then if they want to speak about it, let's say during their morning team meeting and say, hey, this is going to happen later, afternoon shift, be aware, then they can do so. So to me, it's just more out of respect and just kind of preemptively letting them know, because I personally feel that's just the right thing to do.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Any final words or comments before we move on to the next piece of the agenda? Once, twice. Okay. So I wanted to discuss the next commercial corridor walkthrough. I would like to ask, what area of the community hasn't had a walkthrough yet?
I do.
There we go.
So there we go.
Yeah, so we could just hit two birds with one stone.
Do this, take on this first, and then see what. I mean, this
You know,
might
I
take
didn't
up
even-
more time than.
I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that. Now, the discussion of the fiscal year 27 priorities. Now, this isn't the actual discussion. This is more of a brainstorming session. And I would like to ask Nick some questions on previous budget proposals, just because I did it for aging last year, but it was it wasn't, a full hands-on experience. So I would like to ask a couple of different questions. So, of these lines for the 26 proposal, was there an amount requested, or it was just, we would like funding for X, Y, Z?
No, they don't ask for amounts, but there's a cutoff that, delineates expense from capital. Is it 40,000, 60,000?
One was 50 and one was 35,000, although it might have gone up since
Yeah,
then.
so anything
Right.
below that is considered an expense request.
Mm-hmm.
Anything above is considered a capital. But there's also a, sort of another sort of, subjective component to that. For example, the emergency response unit, which responds when businesses have fires and emergencies and things like that. They're an expense portion of NCS. So we don't put an amount, but we just considered it expense. And subsequently, I'm sure we're not the only community board that asked for it, but when we've asked for additional funding, they've gotten like one more person. They're a very small team. They were very appreciative that we submitted the request. So they felt that it was impactful, so, just as an example. But that would be an expense request. And then when we asked for the, small business, development app, which is a non-starter on many different levels,
That was the next one I was gonna go
that
down.
would be that would be theoretically, would be a
Capital.
capital,
Yeah.
because that would be a whole project and something that would have a duration, of more than just
Annual budgetary.
It's more of a physical item that you purchase.
Right,
Yeah.
it's more of a durable good as opposed to,
Just, day-to-day operations, which fall under. Okay.
And this was a joint effort with season.
No, it was because nothing like this had been proposed.
Based on our research, so we didn't know which agency,
And we talked to all the agencies, and they all seemed genuinely interested. But obviously, nobody's taken it up. It would be an endeavor, and then they don't see the cost, they don't see it as a cost-benefit analysis. As a business owner, I see it as a business, because it's a direct subsidy to me. If I'm in business and if I were to enroll in it, then every purchase through my membership, the city would basically reimburse me for it. So it needs a funding source, right? But other cities have used like ARPA money, discretionary funding. I mean, you know, we have $99 billion budget or something like that?
Yeah, 89 billion,
Whatever it is. I mean, and if you look at what we spend in economic development, I mean, I'd like to see where that money goes, because I haven't gotten any of it.
Yeah.
So, you know, this would be something for small businesses. A lot of times, the big, defending this app again.
Yeah,
All right, I thought this was dead.
Do you have a proposal? Do you have a proposal for this?
Government, huh?
Do you have a proposal for this app?
Oh, yeah.
I would like to see that if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
sure.
Absolutely. I mean, it's on the website. We've did proposals, we had presentations, we talked to the EDC, we talked to SPS. I know Farah talked to Eric Dinowitz about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's see, it's an undertaking, there's no question. It would be something that somebody that's a paid person would, you know, you would need a point person, and you would need a team, you'd have to hire people. It's an endeavor, but for me, it would be something, given how much we spend in other areas, in terms of quote-unquote economic development, as a small business owner, this would directly benefit the participants.
The reason I want to see the proposals, because from a technical sense, like, I'm thinking of, so, give everyone some information. This is what I do. So I'm a project manager for now Google, in projects for apps and API. So the way I'm thinking about this, I want to see what's on the proposal, and then if you can, like, the way it's proposed in the corporate sense, like if, so the way Google works is everything that you see that Google manufactures is its own business within the parent business. So it's a child business. And they have to propose, this is what we want to do, this is how it's going to happen, and map out exactly how the app or whatever is going to work to a T. So I think adding that to the proposal, I want to do this.
I just
This makes a ton of sense.
And I don't mean, I appreciate that we share the same enthusiasm, but for some reason, there's some people don't like this. Don't know why exactly. I mean, I kind of know why, but
You scared of it?
they don't want it. So it's been made very clear to me, right, that they don't want it.
I get why. I know why.
So,
But I'm just saying,
you know.
But I've convinced people who
choose
don't
your
want
battles. So
I convince people who don't want technology
All right.
to get technology for years. And I'm now doing it in the car industry, and those are the most stubborn people in the world, so.
So what does the app do?
So the app is basically a digital currency, and it's basically a rewards program. So the way we envisioned it, you know, you go to, I don't know, our local business, you go to Female Fight Club and you pay for a lesson, right? And you get rewards points. You get paid $30 a class, you get $30 in rewards points. Now, those reward points can be redeemed at another business, and then that business gets reimbursed by the city. And essentially what it does is incentivizes local people to shop locally. So rather than going to Westchester, going to a different borough, whatever, you have, because you're doing it through the app, you accumulate those points that you could then be redeemed, but they have to be redeemed by Bronx participating, exactly.
Okay.
And then you can be a participant. So if I'm just a participant, somebody comes in for physical therapy, whatever, then we give them a certain number of points, but we don't redeem them, right? And then they can go and get redeemed someplace else. If you're a business, you get redeemed directly from the city. And the way some of these, Oscar probably knows more about it than I do. There's, you know, with this Square or Block or one of these technologies, it's almost instantaneous for the business. The way it's been implemented in the past in like Boston, Akron, Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio, a couple other cities, where the business owner that's a redeemer, they just do the transaction 1, 2, 3, and it's on the back end. The money directly goes from the city account into the business owner. But again, the money's got to come from somewhere. It's taxpayer money, no question, public money. And a lot of the cities that developed the initiative wanted to do this for a long time. When they got the American Rescue Plan funds, everything that was left over they put into this program. A lot of them have fit it because it's been somewhat successful. They've been able to get more funding to basically justify it. But you know, I mean, the other downside is the more successful it is, the more it costs the city, right? But that's, you know, money cascading through the economy locally, so there's a multiplier effect to it that can be very potent, very powerful, particularly for small businesses.
For spending, it's yeah. I'm gonna read that proposal. I'm very intrigued. The geek in me is like thinking of everything. Okay. Has anything, like, what's the success rate for proposed line items as far as you proposing and it actually being granted? Do you have to do it 3 years in a row and then on the third year is granted? Is there any type of percentages or metrics you have on that?
I mean, just anecdotally, just out of the top of my head, I know when we, you know, the commercial lease assistance programs got more money every year. The Business Express service team, I don't know if I think they got one more person. They're a very small team too, but we always put them in because they would definitely come to our walkthrough if you guys want them to come too. That's Angel Pagan.
Oh.
He would definitely come, if you wanted him to come. But he's done probably 3 or 4.
Yeah.
He's come
He's
to almost
great.
every walkthrough we've been on. He usually brings a few people from his team.
We always send an invitation on behalf of
Yeah,
the chair and the committee to join.
yeah. His boss used to be Michael Fong, but he's not there anymore. I don't know who it is now. Michael Anton, yeah.
What agency is Angel?
SBS, and they're the Business Express Service team. And they're really good for, sort of quarterbacking resources for the businesses, specifically especially when it comes to helping a business get open, not receiving violations. So Angel, Michael, they'll come in and they'll take a look at a business and they'll say, this would be a violation, fix this, fix this, fix this, here's how you go about doing this. And these guys know it, like, they know right off the top of their head, and they have helped, several businesses, in the area, in our district.
Amazing. Okay.
I don't remember any other, I mean, obviously, we can go back and look, but I can't remember any of the other, proposals we've had in the past.
So the January meeting was going to have kind of the meat and bones of these discussions, and this, we can, like I said before, iterate on everything. It doesn't necessarily have to be a decision made there, but I want everyone to start thinking about, and take this home, take a look at it, and see what we've done in the past. I am going to invite speakers or representatives from each of the agencies to come and speak to us about kind of what they do and what's available for the small businesses within the community. But I'm looking, I just wanted to introduce it now so everyone can get everybody's thoughts flowing, and then we can have a more rich conversation moving forward. Anybody have any questions, any concerns, any comments? Only once, twice? Yeah. So, 6 on the agenda, sorry for such a long agenda, but there's a couple of things I wanted to get through before the year was up. The discussion of the Betty Campbell Adams Award, and what I really want to discuss is to start thinking about merchants who would be a good fit for this award. So, pardon me. Okay, sorry. So, this is a board award specifically with a recommendation from this committee, and it seeks to identify the merchants within our community that have enhanced or worked to enhance economic growth, improve community relations, and increase civic participation. And I wanted to just start the process again, and I wanted, if you care to speak on it, Nick, just to give me a synopsis of the winners from last year and kind of why they were chosen, and what went into it from a discussion standpoint from not only this committee but the board in general.
Just last year.
Yeah, it goes back several.
Yeah, it goes back, but
But it might be helpful to have a discussion about a few of them, not just one, because
Okay.
then you get a bigger picture.
Yeah, I mean, we've had, I think we had Flowers by Zenda was the first one.
Orlando.
Right, Orlando Cross, who's on the board of KRVC. He was the head of the Marble Hill Merchant Association. He was very active in supporting the merchants when they wanted to put in the bus lane through that area. So he spent in the neighborhood for like 30 years. And then we had Cloudy's Kitchen won 1 year. Bronx Ale House won 1 year. All of them had obviously successful businesses, entrepreneurial skills, and also community involvement. So everything that Betty sort of did in the spirit of her legacy, that's kind of what we've looked for and what we prioritized in the past.
an actual physical award.
It's presented at the full board meeting.
And is there a cap on winners? Because I see last year there were 3. Is there a cap, or what goes into the decision to go from 1 to 3 to 2?
I mean, we've had disagreements about that. I mean, I've always been in support of 1, but other members of the committee felt differently. So, being, you know, democratic in nature, I didn't want to overrule the will and consensus of the committee. So depended on the year, I let the committee decide. Some years it was 1, some years it was more than 1.
What's the last year?
It's like,
There's 3 of them, the Riverdale Pharmacy,
Pharmacy,
the, John's Botany
John
Florist,
Cosson's
and,
League,
yeah,
right.
and
and
another
pharmacy.
Design.
And the year before, we actually had Jimmy Packus,
Yes,
possibly,
Jimmy
yeah, from
Packus,
Riverdale
yeah.
Auto. And we had,
So the man who
Ron
died?
Burger House, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
The burgers from there good?
These are nominations that come from the community, though.
Right, they
We
can
don't
come.
nominate them.
We
Do
can,
we?
yeah,
Oh, you
yeah,
can?
members,
Oh,
absolutely,
good,
yeah,
good,
members
good.
can nominate unless, you know, I don't know if there's new rules, I know the resolution didn't pass, but
No.
in the past, it was our committee and then chair of the board. So that was, the board award was given on behalf of the board based on the decision of our committee with the board's approval. So now, last year, when we had to send it to the committee, to the full board, we blocked out names. It made it very difficult for us to kind of, and there were 2 different pharmacies. So people, we kept getting the pharmacies confused, and we had to, Farrah had to redact it.
Yeah.
So I would just say, get the procedure and protocol in advance, so that committee members know what we're being asked to do and what we're looking at. It's easy, like I can nominate somebody right now, I won't, because we haven't officially opened the nominating period, which we have to do, and you have to organize that with Farrah. And we have to send out a press release of when the nominating period is open.
Mm-hmm.
But once we get that, well, before we do that, we should actually know what the process is gonna be and what the procedure is gonna be.
Fair enough. And how does the community go about nominating? Just call the board office?
There's a form, we have a form.
The form I gave you,
Yeah.
we put out a press release, we post it on social, we email the community and merchants, and they'll send it by, it says on there how they submit it by email, usually,
Yeah.
to our office. And then when we get them, I put them together and give them all to the committee.
Right.
Has there ever been any, I wouldn't say interviews, but any discussions with the nominees by the committee? Like, so for instance, if there's 4 nominees, has the committee ever invited them to speak at the? Okay.
You mean about their nomination?
Usually, no,
About their
not
group.
about the nomination.
No.
Not about the nomination.
Usually, I mean, in the past, a lot of times it's been a business that has come for one reason or another, and we knew them. And then we saw, you know, additionally what they were doing in the committee, and then somebody from the community nominated them. So it became a very easy decision, right? And you know, there's so many good businesses, it's hard to distinguish, but a lot of times, like, we get maybe, I don't know, anywhere from 3 to 5 nominations,
Mhm.
so we don't get a ton of nominations.
And if there's like questions from the committee, that usually someone sends it in, like, there was questions if they, you know, if they worked or they earned money for doing this
Yeah,
or
that-
something. So we would
Yes, the
follow
board
up
follows
with
up.
the person who, follow up just to ask those certain questions, but not have them come in or anything.
If you have them come in, then they don't win. Right.
It makes sense. But it wasn't so much more like having them come in for the nomination. It's more like to speak about, so, let me backtrack. There's 2 ways that I can envision this doing this, where we have a meeting at their place of business if it's suitable, or they can come in and just talk about their business, what they do, and similar to our past meetings, kind of like also highlight what they've been struggling with, just so we can get an idea, but that was just a thought, so.
I mean, you're gonna have a pretty short window, depending on when you open the nominating period. In the past, I think we've had a month You get the nominations, and then if they wanna do it, it's like May, right, was suggested, Small Business Month, I'm not saying we have to do it in May, but, you know, by the time you get the nominations, everybody reads the nominations, you have a discussion, then you have another meeting, then maybe you come up, sometimes you just develop a consensus when it's contentious or there's different opinions, then you have to have a vote. I like to avoid votes, I'd rather just have everybody in agreement, but that doesn't always work. And, you know, by the time that happens, it works.
So it goes pretty quick.
Makes sense.
By the
I
time you
wouldn't-
get everything done.
I wasn't factoring in the cadence of the meetings. That makes sense. All right.
Yeah,
Just so you know, like last year, all nominations had to be received by March 15th. And at that point, all the committee would review all the applications. And like Nick said, you only had a month to decide, but if you do it in May, you have a couple of meetings where you could probably have a few conversations, which is great.
Okay. If you open it maybe in January,
Mm-hmm.
to
It should
February,
open it in January,
like January
yeah.
first, and then we have, because then we have the February, March, we have 3 meetings, February, March, April. It might be too much time.
Well, sometimes we found we had to extend the
Yeah, we've
cutoff
had to
because we
extend that.
didn't have
That's true too.
a lot of,
We didn't get as many nominations.
nominations.
I mean, based on what everyone's saying, I'd rather open it in January and cut it off in March,
Mm-hmm.
and then just have 2 months of just nominees, so we have a bigger pool, and then kind of do like a short list from there and iterate on that. Cases present, like, once it happens, you'll see kind of how the way I'm thinking about it, but I agree with you as far as like,
January is your next
Meeting, so
yes.
it comes up very quickly.
Yeah, I'm starting to realize that now. Okay, any questions, comments, concerns on the Campbell Award? Any questions?
Yeah, another thing that has come up is in the past, people didn't want self-nomination. Wanted to exclude self-nomination. So if that's the consensus of the committee, then we should state that in the nominating form when we release it to the press, so that people know that they are not, their self-nomination will not be accepted. I'm not saying it is, in the past we have, but there were some people on the committee and some people on the board that had an issue with that. We've also had issues with nonprofits, being nominated for the award and whether they should be considered. And we decided, a couple years back, I guess, that it was only gonna be for-profit businesses, but that doesn't necessarily mean that this year and this committee would decide the same thing. I think we should, discuss it and, relegate it to the democratic process.
So, here's my question. Why not do a nonprofit award and a for-profit award?
For time.
It just makes things easier and it just puts people in buckets, so it's like, because that's a slippery slope. But,
Well, because, I mean, in the rationale, and I'm not arguing this point from any position, but the argument in the past was that they have the Irving Latimer Community Service Award. Nonprofit organizations like Riverdale Neighborhood House has gotten that award before, and so forth, and they're nonprofit.
that's not it. See?
I don't know if you could do economic development and nonprofit in the same. sort of
Yeah, there's a gray area. Some nonprofits could, but,
Yeah,
yeah, it's too,
confusing.
muddies the waters a little bit. So we decided it was gonna be a for-profit business, entrepreneurs. Again, going back to the Spirit of the Award, which, by the way, Jill Towns was one of the original drafters of the award, if I don't, as I recall. But, you know, it was to be for, profit-based small businesses.
That's sense. And with the other award, it makes sense.
Weren't you on the subcommittee that?
Nick, I was on so many different,
I thought it was you and Margaret.
Margaret and I used to
And
We're on the
there's
phone
somebody
every
else.
weekend
Maybe
writing something.
Sergio, yeah.
Usually Margaret and I, Sergio would call and tell us, try to be the supervisor. But Margaret and I would be on the phone every weekend writing up something, so.
Okay, so, coming to the end of it. Approval of the minutes from October 10th. Motion to vote. All in favor?
Let's go home.
Okay, so that's been approved. Old business, there is none. New business, we just spent an hour talking about it. Anybody have any questions or comments or concerns?
Yeah, I see this thing, this, walkthrough thing could become more ambitious than we're even thinking about it if we are saying this so that they've been thinking the kind of ideas we're thinking today. It could become major.
Yes.
There's a lot of moving parts there.
So,
I'm gonna talk to the guy I know who knows the guy.
I would appreciate that.
I do have a question, man. What's the Skyview thing about? What's that walkthrough thing?
They have businesses, Skyview?
That's what we were just talking about.
No, the Skyview, he says the additional room is Skyview
Project,
So Nick said
buildings
that.
behind it.
So Nick said the guy,
additional walkthrough?
meaning
No, isn't that what?
Yeah, the shopping center across the
Oh,
street.
that's what it's called? It's called the Skyview Shopping Center. The Skyview's very adjacent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm saying that's enough,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Are we walking back there?
Any chance out of the entrance? Because there's two entrances to that place.
I don't see a reason.
We're not going to
The
the.
Sky people come through that back entrance.
Yeah, you can come through
And
the back.
Netherlands go to, are we doing that walkthrough through there? See how that is?
That can be discussed.
See,
Not-
those are two entry
It could,
points. The
it
one
could
that's
raise the
closed
issue of
and
whether
then
it's
that-
safe or, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's three, sorry. And then there's one by SAR. SAR over there.
With a Baskin Robbins.
Right, so you have 2 out of 3 that are open.
Yeah, every walkthrough, you have your itinerary, what you wanna do, but if you run out of time, you run out of time, that's just,
When you say the back, I thought that if you come out where Baskin Robbins is, and then you make the left, you go up a road that leads into Skyview.
up that hill,
that's one.
Is
yeah.
that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's
So
one.
what are the other
There's
entrances?
another one, I think that's the Netherlands, the one that Miss Williams uses, to the left. They come out
To the left of
back.
what?
To the left where Netherlands is at.
South.
South, sorry,
of it.
south.
To the left of Key Foods, to the left of Key
Yeah,
Foods,
so
there's
Left-
a
if
gate
you
that
look at
goes
it,
up.
you go to the left,
Yeah.
and you go up
Yeah.
straight up whatever that
There's a
street
walkway
is.
there.
We have a gate that we have to have a fob to, and it opens.
Oh, it goes to Skyview from that street, that numbered street?
The one that
Or-
I'm talking about that's on the left of Key Foods goes up to Netherland Gardens. The one by Baskin Robbins, that road goes up to Skyview.
Oh, Netherland Gardens, right, I was thinking, there's a couple of, developments, there's Netherland Gardens, is that right behind Key Food?
Exactly.
And then there's
Exactly.
one that if you go up that street, or maybe the street before that, there actually looks like one, but I understand it's two. If you go where, the school is up that street, west.
Oh, You mean
And
where
then you make a
SAR
right?
is? Oh,
No,
you're
if you
talking
go-
public school.
No, I'm
If
not
you go
talking about
two-
that, I'm talking about,
If you go up
there are
256,
two,
there's
I don't know
Netherland
what number
Gardens.
it is,
It's
if you go up-
256.
and you make a left into something that's like a oval.
Riverdale Y?
No, it's a housing development. I used to take somebody home every day to live there.
Oh, yeah, that's Skyview.
There's one on
No,
the
it's
right,
not.
when you go up the hill on 256, you make a right. And that's a rental complex. And then,
Right.
I'm sorry, on the left, and then on the right, where there's like what you're talking about, the circle, that's Netherland Gardens on the right.
Okay, I think I know what Netherland Gardens is. I'm saying if you go from Riverdale Avenue and you go west on whatever street it is, I don't know what number, there is a development. One, I think, is owners and one is renters. They're right next to each other going down past like where the school is, not SAR, the public school.
One.
They're like brown brick older buildings, and I used to take somebody home and drop them there, and you could either go to the end and sort of make a U-turn in a loop, or go down a little path that led me back into Riverdale Avenue. And on the other side of that, there was another one, I thought they were the same, and I was told by my friend that it was a different development. I don't know the names of them.
Fairfield Gardens or something?
I don't know the name.
Yeah, the Netherland Gardens is,
To the right, this is to the left, so
Yeah.
I know,
I know,
And
what
it-
you're
but it's
talking
actually
about.
two, they look like they're
Mhm.
related, but I was told that they're different. But those two communities, we should figure out whatever the names of those are. And if we get to the point where we're going to involve Skyview, those are other communities that have concentrations of people, not single homes, that walk there, that mall. And, you know, the thing is that, I remember when I first moved here 20 years ago, somebody asked me if my building was a senior citizen building. Because a lot of people live here or age here, bring their parents here because they feel safe. But those people are not driving around. So it's important that they have some place they can walk to and have, you know, stuff. You know, I grew up in Co-op City, and one of the wonderful things was there was always a shopping center in walking distance. It had a variety of stores, and so you didn't have to have a car.
Makes sense. That makes a ton of sense. Okay, moving forward. Motion to adjourn?
Second. Out.
Thank you.